Good afternoon to you, Vanessa. Now, we heard the police minister saying that it's the communities themselves who have called for the SANDF. What's been really the mood and what have they expressed in terms of the SANDF deployment, apart from them having called for it in the first place?
Yes, good afternoon to you. This briefing just concluding here in Paarl in the Boland at the SABC Academy. Of course, Police Minister Bheki Cele, as well as National Police Commissioner Ketla Sitole and other spokespeople. For example, we had the province's MEC for community safety and also representatives from the various community policing forums addressing the media after this two-day briefing here, or rather two-day summit here in Paarl. Now, when you talk about what people are saying on the ground, the minister alluded to that earlier on in the soundbite that you've just played, is that the call for the army to be deployed in crime-ridden areas across the Cape Flats is not a new one. There have been quarters calling for the deployment of the SANDF for many months and many years. And the minister telling us just now, or rather earlier this morning while he was out in Philippi East on a walkabout, that it was once the CPF, that's the Community Policing Forums, approached him and said, this is what we want, and after which he then considered that. But we've been speaking to residents over the past few years, really, in Manenberg, residents in Lavender Hill, residents in Philippi, in Nyanga, Khayelitsha, etc. There has been mixed reaction, but I would say that a number of people are telling us, even as late as this morning, that they do feel that the deployment of the SANDF will assist. There have been allegations of corruption within the police service. It was also one of the questions that Minister Cele addressed just now when it posed to him by members of the media, saying that this is what community members are saying on the ground. And what Minister Cele said was that corruption will be tackled. And even if it is corruption within the police service itself, he said that the police are not scared and will not be scared to act against their own if necessary, if indeed there are any truths in these allegations that in certain police stations, for example, in certain communities, there seems to be this alleged collusion between gangsters and police members. So he made it very clear that corruption, even within the police service itself, will be dealt with. But coming back to the summit, and of course, just in summary of the summit itself, I think one of the main themes that came through very, very clearly when you listen to the speakers that addressed us just now is one of implementation. And even though this gathering of over 500 delegates comprising representatives from, for example, correctional services, representatives from social development, representatives from the communities themselves, and what they're saying is that they don't want the summit just to be yet another talk shop. They want action, and within the next 2 weeks it was also felt that there wasn't enough community participation, saying that in the next 2 weeks they'll come back with more community input to tackle the issue of crime in various areas across Cape Town and the Cape Metro, and indeed the Western Cape and the country, if one broadens the scope of the South African Police Service's work in terms of law enforcement and also keeping various communities safe.
Now, Vanessa, some of our viewers might have missed that media briefing that the Minister Bheki Cele just hosted. It was really about addressing the crime-fighting strategy, and I do understand that the Minister said he can't give away too much. But can you just give us just a sort of summary or recap of what that strategy actually is? Because I'm sure a lot of people want to know, what are you actually planning as you go in with the SANDF? What's going to happen?
Well, I think that communities would already have seen larger deployments of police units in various disciplines, including members of the TRT, that of course the tactical response teams, specifically this morning in Philippi East again, we've seen them out and about. That would be, I think, one of the biggest steps is additional police deployment to these various areas, but then also getting departments such as social development on board, because we understand that there are socio-economic issues facing these communities. Unemployment, poverty, the issue of infrastructure in various communities. The matter of street lighting has been raised on numerous occasions. The matter of inadequate housing has been raised on numerous occasions. So this will then be an integrated approach, I suppose, without giving too much away, but tackling each and every aspect which could contribute and which have contributed to the high crime levels that we see, particularly in poor areas.
And, just to wrap up, while the minister was wrapping up his conversation there, I heard him at the end saying, "Are you guys now going to follow me to where I'm going?" What's next? Where's he going? What's happening?
Yes, I think the minister was saying that tongue-in-cheek, because you'll know that after the announcement on Thursday of the South African National Defence Force deployment, I dare say that the media would have been hanging on to every word that the police minister would have uttered, because of the fact that it has been an issue which has been a bit controversial, I suppose, in terms of which side you're standing on. So yes, the media has been out since late Thursday evening, Friday morning, yesterday, and of course today as well, meeting him in Philippi East when he went on that walkabout, and now as the summit concludes. So I suspect that over the next week or 2 weeks, there will be much work going into behind the scenes from not just the police ministry, but also all the role players present here, so that in 2 weeks' time, when there is a more inclusive coming together with communities as well, that there will be more of the issues that have been highlighted. For example, one of the issues was that there are not sufficient rape kits at various police stations, as an example. So these are all matters that will be taken into its entirety, and we can expect that when that gathering or that meeting takes place, that these are issues that will have hard and fast implementation, because that is the key word that we heard here this afternoon.
All right, Vanessa, great reporting. Thank you very much for that. Of course, we will be catching up with her as the day progresses, and should we hear any news, of course, out of the area. That's Vanessa Puna, who has been tracking that story for us. Well, the State Cabinet